Nobody serenades you but me, Bats. Take it away, boys. Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remember in Arkham City, I killed your girl, so pretty.
Peggy.
That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew we'd be together. Look who's laughing now.
I'm vibing.
Stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I feel you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I am the clown, prince of crime. And we've had a hell of a time. You're part of me, I'm part of you. And now there's nothing left to do. I just can't wait till I'm in control. Who'll be laughing then? I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing.
That's most
I'm
definitely
with you
what's
till
up.
the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. Oh yeah, I think I can taste your fear. Now that my time is near, I'm in your blood, I'm so alive. I only wish you'd let me drive. It won't be long till I make you kill. Who'll be laughing then? Barbara's dead and I'm laughing. Ah! Jason Todd's dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm even dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. I'm cock-a-doodle-doo. All because of you. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I fill you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I filled you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. There's nothing like a comeback, is there, Matt? Let's go again.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you're doing just fine. My hair do be quite crazy today. It is full poof. But maybe it's a poofy kind of day, you know? Maybe it is. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. And we shouldn't fight it. Maybe that's what it is. What's up? Not much. I think it was a late night for a lot of people that just wanted to see, like, how things would wrap up. It was pretty clear where which direction the election was going to go. Like, in my opinion, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. But yesterday, certainly when the polls closed, it cleaned up pretty quick, and then it was just a matter of like checking off boxes. But here's where we're at, okay? Yeah, there's always money in the banana stand. Here's where I'm at, okay? Okay, this has been my stance and my policy for a very long time. I'm a gaming YouTuber, right? Like, we talk about video games. I personally can't stand it when, like, YouTubers, streamers, celebrities, actors, whatever, start rambling about their political takes and opinions. I can't stand it, so I'm not going to do that. because you shouldn't care what I think about politics, frankly. But having said that, whether you woke up today very, very happy or you woke up today very, very sad, I think we should all be able to just come together under one thing we can all agree on. Well, I guess two things. One, that Concord sucks. And two, that Peanut did not deserve to die. And on that, I think we can just move on, you know. Rip Peanut, indeed. So, having said that, I think for for poor Peanut, for today, we've got a few things to run through. We'll be doing the podcast later with the one and only Mr. Joel Raptor. He has a PS5 Pro, so we're gonna poke his brain and figure out what he thinks about it. I noticed they've been doing reviews. Is it not like a little weird to do a review for a piece of hardware? Like, it's one thing if Digital Foundry does a review for like a graphics card or something, because they can be like, hey, this is how much of a step up it is versus this is performance per dollar, that type of thing. Like those old school Linus Tech Tips reviews for your graphics cards. You remember those when they were still in the house? And they would actually break it down by dollar per frame on average in like the biggest releases. I think that's the way to do it. What is that hairstyle? I don't know, man. It's just doing its own thing. It can't be tamed. You can't fight it. Isn't there some old turn of phrase or idiom about fighting the ocean? You can fight the water, but the water will always regain its form and do what it wants, and you must give in to it. See, there's nothing you can do. Is that a quaff or a queef? Who can say, frankly? Maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that. Got that Jimmy Neutron cut. Yeah, indeed. So, anyway, I remember those reviews, and those make sense to me. Seeing IGN do like a PS5 Pro review, I mean, they're probably going to come out and be like, it's good, but expensive, and it doesn't make things look that crazy different. Honestly, oh wait, I'm scrubbing through. They're doing, wow, they actually have IR scanners. They're testing heat dissipation. Okay, this might be better than I'm expecting. Okay, maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe IGN is going to come out swinging. Is this yeah, it's a 4K video. Somebody at IGN has been doing their job. They're actually putting it out at max quality. I half expected them to put out their review of the 4K 60 machine at 1080p 30. Like, was it CNET? Was it CNET that did that? So stupid. Sony partners with them for their big reveal of the PlayStation 5 Pro, and all of their coverage, all their videos are 1080p 30 for a machine whose whole selling point is that it can take most games and get them to run at like 4K 60, whatever. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Dude, I don't even know what's happening. It's like catching the breeze. Cooperate. It's worse. It's worse. Damn it. I don't know what to do. Shower stream? Oh yeah. It's like the subathons when like Kai was doing his first subathon. I remember somebody on stream was like, have you been following? I was like, no, but let's pull it up. And we pulled it up, and it was at the time where he was in the shower. He's just in like his boxers or whatever. But I was like, oh, I guess it makes sense if you're streaming nonstop for a month. Like, just bring the camera in with you. And I mean, obviously they take breaks and other people come in and stream for him, but anime hair, yeah, I guess today is just one of those days. Remember when CNET was good? I have not thought about them since Trump last one. I don't know when they would have been really good. It's just big tech companies and big publications that cover internet adjacent things, it's just so hard for them to compete with individual creators and YouTubers. Like Digital Foundry did a much better job showcasing why you should buy a PS5 Pro. Way better than Sony did. Way better, certainly, than CNET did. It's just a huge... It's way harder to keep up with them. Tintin hair. That's my favorite so far. I love that. Okay. So with that said, let's do this. Let's see. News segment. Wrigley's Extra One. Thank you for the sub with Prime, by the way. Also, Rango, Trump undefeated against women, 2-0. Yeah, it seems to be, you know, his matchups against female candidates are a little unbalanced. It seems like maybe there's they need to do a patch or something. Brad, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Great starter, Luke. Happy Wednesday, brother. Love you on the channel. Thank you, my friend. Glad to have you. And very generous. $10. My goodness. And brother lady, thank you for 14 months. Ooh, baby. Amen. Amen. Yeah. Yeah, it's the impulse is for people like I'm not naming any names. I saw one YouTuber, you guys would know, who just like for the last 2 weeks has been so terminally online on Twitter, rambling about politics and stuff. And it's like, bro, put the phone down. Just put it down. Read a book. Just stop. Please. Like, you're not... You are getting nothing from this. Everyone else, though, is getting content to like troll you with later. Like, just chill. It's the same thing. Like, if you're living the dream as a gaming YouTuber, why would you start trying to poke the bear and like alienate half of your audience just so you can say some political take? Like, frankly, I may have very, very clear and potent thoughts politically. But I'm a gaming YouTuber. You shouldn't care what I think. And who on earth has ever been like, I was going to vote for X candidate, but you know what? This guy I watched talk about video games said this, and that changed my mind. Nobody ever says that, you know? It's just so dumb. It's kind of an arrogance to think that like YouTubers or entertainers should be able to lecture you about what to do or who to vote for. It's like, shut up. No, go back to being in a movie, you know, whatever. Harambe 2016, Peanut 2024. Both years Trump won. Was Harambe really 2016? Has it been that long? Jesus. Gone but not forgotten, I guess. Okay. They were the Jesuses of their species. Jesus Christ. Oh man. Okay. Let's do this. Let's shift gears. Okay. New segment. Okay. The PS5 Pro. It's in people's hands. People are reviewing it. Later on the stream, separate stream with the poofy hair, we're going to be talking with Joe Raptor because he has his already. He did like an unboxing. He's talked about it, blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll see what he thinks of it because I'm sure he's tested it in, what do you think? Probably Horizon would be my guess. That's my guess, at least. But we'll talk to him about it. But in the meantime, iGen put up a PS5 Pro review. And I don't want to be like super dismissive or anything. They do have thermal testing, it looks like. They're going to do side-by-sides. They're going to do a lot of stuff. So I am excited to see what they say. And they have it at 4K 60, which is already a huge step up compared to CNET. Where CNET was given the official contract by Sony for promoting the PS5 Pro, and they uploaded all of their videos at 1080p 30. How that happened, I don't know. It's like that should be bullet point number 1. This machine is being sold on the premise of being, putting games out at 4K 60. Please provide all coverage in at least that quality. You would think that would be a standard, but it wasn't. But nonetheless, iGen is here. They are here to talk about it. Let's see what they say. Put my phone on mute.
The PlayStation 5 Pro seems like it should be more exciting than it actually is. It's without question the most powerful console you can buy right now. and the enhanced games I've been able to play ahead of launch do look great and run much more smoothly than the standard PS5 can handle thanks to some upgraded hardware and impressive upscaling tech. But it's also completely unsurprising that the faster PS5 is, well, faster, and it's also more expensive. Considering that the original PS5 can still provide enough power to run games competently in 2024, spending $700 means you have to really want the best of the best from your games to make the Pro a worthy investment.
Yeah, I've said for a long time, I think that Sony's done a good job positioning themselves as like the Apple of the gaming space, where it's just presumed like it's almost like a social status thing. You see a lot of YouTubers, for whatever reason, that put their PS5 boxes like in their background so you can see that they have a PS5. It's calmed down since they became more available, but certainly around launch, around like 2020, 2021, that was very, very common. It's very, very strange. But the reason I bring that up is because I think there is a market for people to just buy the really expensive PlayStation for the sake of having the latest PlayStation thing. Like, I do think there's a market for this. Is it huge? I don't know, but I do think it's like sizable. It's not insignificant. So, this hasn't gone like total gangbusters. It hasn't sold out as far as I'm aware. The 30th anniversary edition did, but that was a very limited supply. But that could also be that they just have way more supply of the PS5 Pro. It could be this, could be that, who knows. One thing that has been brought up that they might not bring up here, the PS5 Pro does not have a disk drive in it in the box, and it also does not have a vertical stand. If you want to buy the vertical stand, it's $30, which is insane. And if you want to buy the disk drive, it's another like $70-$80. Apparently, across the globe, people cannot get the disk drives. They've been sold out for months. And what it seems is happening is Sony, they make more money on the digital sales than they do on the physical sales. So they really want you to buy your games digitally. They don't want you to get the disk drive. So not to mention just in terms of like how the ecosystem works, once you buy all your stuff digitally, you're locked into their ecosystem. It's much harder to justify swapping to PC or something if you can't just sell all of your PS5 games that you have in disc form, to get money to go buy games on Steam or Xbox, whatever. So, it's sort of an anti-competitive thing, but also because they're limiting the inventory of the disc drive so much, it seems to me like they are trying to get people to buy this thing or buy other PlayStations. And then because the disc drives are so limited in availability, a lot of people are just going to say, screw it. I want to use it now. I'm going to buy God of War Ragnarok digital. I'm going to buy Spider-Man 2 digital because I want to test the game. I'm going to buy Helldivers digital again. Just because if they're waiting for a disc version, they may never get it. Certainly I don't think Helldivers 2 even has a physical edition. Maybe it does. But I think that there's a little something shady going on with the whole disc drive situation. They have to offer it because there's a bunch of anti-competition stuff in the EU where they could face lawsuits and stuff and regulatory fines if they don't have an open market for that type of thing. So they kind of have to offer it, which is why they haven't gone totally digital only. But it certainly seems like they're trying to push people. They're trying to push people towards just saying screw it and buying everything digital. I buy a lot of stuff digital. For me, it's just more convenient, frankly. But I think it's important for people to have the choice, for people to have the option, and to do this kind of backhanded, sneaky way of forcing people into that situation to have to buy stuff digitally. To me, just feels really slimy.
Accounts.
Is anyone else also kind of bummed that it doesn't look that different? Like they just ribbed it for your pleasure and that's it. Like I was kind of hoping it would look a lot more different, frankly. Like I don't know. But it's a small point. It's a small point. But when I buy new tech, I personally like it when it looks a little bit different. Like iPhones looking the exact same 5 years at a time. It's kind of unexciting, underwhelming. Like, give me something huge. Surprise me. Wow me.
For its price, you'll be disappointed to find that the PS5 Pro does not come with every possible bell and whistle. It does pack in a standard DualSense, but there's no vertical stand included, and if you're the type who has a library of physical games, be ready to shell out an extra $80 for a Blu-ray disc drive to install yourself. If you feel like Sony is trying to nickel and dime you on top of the $700 price tag, I'm not going to argue against you. Physically, it's a pretty sleek console relative to the enormous launch PS5, and it largely takes after the design principles of the slim model. The only major difference is that it's taller when standing vertical, which is accounted for by the fins in the middle that create a cross-section on the console.
It also makes it so the plates, if you bought replacement plates, they don't work. So if you want to customize this one, you got to buy the plates again. You got to buy different plates. It's very sneaky.
It helps make room for the more robust internal components, but doesn't add much bulk to the existing design. It's also not noticeably louder than the original PS5, so you don't need to worry about it sounding like a jet engine when your games get intense. As far as thermals go, the PS5 Pro runs roughly the same temperature as the base PS5 under load, hovering around 35 to 40 degrees Celsius from the rear exhaust, based on our thermal imaging tests. It's a bit striking how little has changed from the original PS5 on the spec sheet. The Pro comes with a 2TB NVMe SSD, which is twice as large but the same speed as the original super fast storage drive. That addresses one of the main complaints about the launch PS5, which is that 1TB goes very quickly when you're installing games that take upwards of 100GB at a time.
I forgot this too, and like, isn't it only 825 gigs? It was something weird. In my brain, I was like, oh, it's a terabyte, but the system software takes it down to like 900, whatever. But I'm pretty sure it was only like 800 something. So it like really wasn't much. 825, yeah. So like, again, it's just the sentiment right now around PlayStation is starting to shift from like the Apple like exclusive premium, super cool. They're starting to go to late stage Apple, where it's like nickel and diming. We're gonna take this out of the box, but tell you that it's actually for customer choice and flexibility, whatever BS they say. So, I think, yeah, the separate stand was a dick move. Yeah, I think you're right. There's just no way to twist it where it's like, the original one had the disk drive. The original one had the stand in the box. There's no way that stand, the new stand, cost them anywhere close to $30. They only separated it because they knew that a lot of people would want it vertical. In all the marketing, it's vertical. And so they said, hey, we're gonna make you buy that separately. It's again late stage Apple, where they take out charging bricks, they take out the headphones, they take all this stuff out because they know you're gonna buy it anyways. Like, yeah, you're gonna like it.
For context, an extra 1TB in the form of an aftermarket SSD would run you around $100 if you want the same storage for a base PS5, which sweetens the deal when looking at the price difference between the PS5 and PS5 Pro. The big upgrade though is in the GPU, rated at 16.7 teraflops, which is a sizable jump on paper from the 10.3 teraflops of the original PS5. Sony says the Pro packs 67% more compute units and onboard memory that's 28% faster, resulting in up to 45% better performance. Without context, those numbers don't really mean much, but the details in my testing prove that they amount to a lot more than empty marketing promises. The important feature that these upgraded specs supports,
like, come on, $30. Let me be clear at the, as we were getting into this, there's two things that can be true at the same time, okay? It could be that this is a solid device that greatly enhances your games and is like the definitive way to play console games. That could be true. And it can also be true that Sony, like, they're kind of being dicks with how they price stuff. Those two things can both be true at the same time. It can be a solid offering, and it can also be kind of slimy and scummy. In the same way that, like, if the 5090 is announced and it's like, yeah, you need to plug it into one of those outlets, like for your dryer. It needs to be 240 volt, whatever nonsense. And it's a $5,000 graphics card, and, it'll give you 15% better performance than the 4090. It could be that that's a really impressive piece of hardware, And it also is like kind of just not a good price to performance ratio. It's not a great offering and not a great product offering. Like I get a migraine whenever I read these posts on like X of the people trying to play defense for PlayStation, because it's like, guys, it can be slimy and still be a good console, or it could be really fair like pro consumer offering, but also just not a great product. And so it's just not worth checking out, no matter how good the company is or how good they're treating people. Like, these are separate questions, but it feels like people are trying to sort everybody into a bucket where either you think it's too expensive, therefore you think it's a garbage machine and it's awful and it's terrible and it's stupid and it shouldn't exist. But that's not true. Like, it can be an awesome device and still they're nickel and diming you and being really slimy with how they sell it to you.
Specifically is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution,
Pisser!
or PSSR. Much like NVIDIA's DLSS, this is Sony and AMD's AI-driven upscaling technology that uses machine learning to construct images that can appear with a quality close to full 4K resolution without having to stress the system's hardware to generate that detail through raw processing power. Granted, it won't be exactly the same as native 4K since it's scaling from a lower base resolution, but it doesn't have to, since you're not going to be putting it side by side with the real thing, and the vast majority of people aren't going to be able to tell the difference in most cases.
I do think this is important. The average gamer, I think they can tell the difference between 30 and 60, or fidelity and performance mode. I do not think the average gamer can tell the difference by the naked eye between 1440p and 4K. I don't think that that's accurate. I used to sell TVs to people. I used to sell home theaters to people. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. At one time, no, it's fine. I'll tell the story anyways. At one time, I went upstairs because my wife was playing a game on her gaming PC upstairs in the guest room. And I was like, something's weird about it. She had it running at like 800 by 400p. And this is like a modern-ish game. I think it was The Witcher or something. Like, it didn't look good at all. And I changed the resolution for her in the settings. It's like, that's so bad. Hold on. And I fixed it for her. She's like, oh yeah, I guess that's better. Wow. Okay. Thanks. But it didn't really bug her. She was just playing the game. It's whatever. And I do think that there's a lot of people who are not, that's an extreme example, obviously, but I think there's a lot of people who are not very much like resolution snobs. Frame rate snobs, sure, but the resolution snobbishness is a separate thing. You know, I just, and honestly, a lot of the people aren't doing that stuff. I think that they're kind of, it's a bit cap when they're saying that they can see the differences and they know the differences. It's like, let me see if I can find that. If I can find that picture again when we're looking at the Bloodborne side by side. This, no, not quite. Almost. I'm just looking for. It was the side by side where they did Bloodborne next to everything else. Maybe this one here it is. So like this, I think most people, if you did the side by side, I don't think they'd be able to point out which is which. Maybe that's cynical of me. Maybe it's unreasonable of me. It's like, oh, it's a sharpness filter, kind of looks like, but that's about it. I just think like most people, when they're playing the game, they're not going to be able to really tell. So I think the resolution thing is much less of a selling point than the frame rate. I think that's a much bigger deal, in my opinion. Much bigger deal. But anyway, continuing on.
especially while they're enjoying the higher frame rates and visual effects this technique allows. It's nice to see Sony is moving away from chasing raw computing power as the end-all be-all of console tech, and as upscaling continues to advance, so too will its implementation in games. As you'll see in our performance breakdown, PSSR is one of the major keys in creating parity between quality and performance options. It also opens the door for games to explore ray tracing techniques to a greater extent, although mileage will vary based on every game's PS5 Pro specific updates, where developers will choose to prioritize different aspects of their respective games. So the PS5 Pro is a bit more complex than simply having one uncompromised Pro enhanced mode. The PS5 Pro's tech gives developers room to be experimental in pushing boundaries, especially with ray tracing because it packs enough power to hit higher frame rates without sacrificing as much graphical fidelity. There's still some level of compromise to be made though, so if you were hoping that the Pro would take out all the FOMO stress out of selecting between 60 FPS performance or 30 FPS fidelity modes, well, in some games now there are even more modes to choose from. Alternatively, if you love having that control over how your games run, that's great news. In my experience though, the visual gap between these modes is much smaller than it is on a base PS5, often making the Pro's performance-centric modes the clear choice. Let's start with a marquee PlayStation first-party game, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. On PS5 Pro, you get to choose between Fidelity Pro and Performance Pro modes. The latter offers visual quality.
Again, it all just sounds so Apple to me. The Fidelity Pro Ultra mode or the Pro Motion Pro Fidelity Ultra Plus mode. Depending on which you choose, I don't know where I was going with that. But you know, like the freaking name schemes drive me crazy.
Quality that's identical to the base PS5's Fidelity mode, with all the original ray tracing features intact while maintaining a smooth 60 FPS. Effectively, the best of both worlds when compared to the PS5's modes. However, with the Fidelity Pro option, Insomniac cranked the knobs even further, putting features like ray-traced ambient occlusion, key light shadows, and further improved reflections on the table. But all those upgrades come at the cost again of being chained down to 30 FPS. You can tweak some of these settings to squeeze out a few extra frames, but I wasn't able to reach anything near 60 FPS even when turning everything down a notch. Horizon Forbidden West showcases another interesting implementation of PS5 Pro enhancements. It has 3 options: favor graphics, balance, and favor performance. Again, the performance-based mode is the way to go.
Like, it is definitely way sharper and it does look better. Like, I can tell the difference, but I'm also looking for the difference. If you're just playing the game, I'm not sure if it makes that big of a difference to you.
It hits a stable 60 FPS while in some respects looking even better than the base PS5's graphics priority mode. You get finer detail and foliage, better lighting, and a better resolution rendering technique. Especially for a game like Horizon, those extra frames make the gameplay experience so much better, and you can still enjoy the lush vistas with that added clarity. The PS5 Pro's graphics priority option, on the other hand, caps Horizon Forbidden West at 30 FPS, but pushes the boundaries with a higher base resolution. Yet, I don't find the trade-off worth it since it's tough to distinguish with the fantastic Pro Performance mode. The curious part is the balanced option, which goes for 40 FPS, and strikes a middle ground with visual quality, but honestly, it's not worth the 30% cut in frame rate for marginal visual gains. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered takes a different angle as well. It oddly retains the same exact 2 options available from the base PS5, graphics or performance priority. But there's a new Pro option that uses PSSR to take 1440p resolution to output 4K while retaining other visual qualities of the PS5's graphics mode and still hitting a consistent 60 FPS. It was already a visually impressive remaster on PS5, but the boost in performance while having all of its graphical details sing is nice. Of all the games that have gotten PS5 Pro updates ahead of launch, Alan Wake 2 is certainly the most interesting one. Remedy decided to go all in on ray tracing with its graphics mode, and it's absolutely stunning, with robust reflections and lighting giving its world a much more striking look, especially in the way that feeds into its atmosphere. The Pro enhancements stretch the limits of what PSSR is capable of, however. In graphics mode, it uses a base resolution of 1224p and runs at 30 FPS to make room for all those sweet
1224p, baby. Oh man, I mean, I really think most of this is just as simple as it seems. It's an incremental small upgrade. If you got $700 to burn, sure, more power to you. But if you're somebody that's like been saving up and you got $700 in your savings account or whatever, and you've been a good boy or girl and you're ready to go, and you're trying to decide if this is what you spend that money on, I really don't think this is what you should do it on. It's like, remember, the sequel to the Switch comes out next year. You know, they're going to have some big day one exclusives, I'm betting. And I think you get a lot more mileage for $700 out of that. But there are people who have plenty of money, who got plenty of money and are able to buy both. And for those people, you do you, whatever, you know, you earn the money, presumably. So spend it how you want. But I think if we're looking at it through the perspective and through the lens of somebody that's not just able to buy everything, if you're just looking at it from the perspective of what is the best application of $700, it's probably waiting for that Switch sequel and then spending the money there, because I think you're going to get a lot more out of that than like an incremental thing here. Now, if you have not bought a PS5, if you don't have one, if you maybe are just still rocking a PS4, honestly, if you're looking at PS5 versus PS5 Pro, I could see maybe stretching it and like saving up a little more to get this, because you'll future-proof yourself some more, I'm sure. And especially as we get later in the console generation, what happened last time was there were a lot of games that were being developed, like The Last of Us Part 2, which looked and ran kind of the way they were supposed to on the PS4 Pro. On the base PS4, they were rougher, you know, way lower resolution, just didn't look quite as good. So it'll future-proof you for the rest of the generation, I'm sure. But I think that's pretty much where it breaks down. If you have not bought a PS5 yet and you don't have one, it's probably the best place to start to future-proof yourself. If you already have a PS5, really hard to justify spending all this money on a new one, especially when there's new hardware coming out next year. And if you're also a PC gamer, the 50 series is expected to be revealed at CES early next year. So if you want to like try to future-proof your PC, not even future-proof, it's like bringing it up to the future once that comes out, because the 50 series stuff is probably going to be a bit insane. Like there's been rumors of what an expected like DLSS 4.0 can do. We haven't seen it in action, but if DLSS 4, if the rumors are true, like straight up in some games, it can just like triple. You can just like triple your performance. It's ridiculous. So we'll see. 5090 prioritizing native. The crazy thing, New World, is that DLSS, like 3.7 frame generation, all of that stuff is so good in a lot of games. You can turn it on and it will just double your frame rate, and you can't even really tell that it's on if you set it to quality mode. Like, it's that good. It's ridiculous. It's as close to magic as you can get. There's some games where you can tell, where maybe there's some latency involved and stuff like that, where you do want it to run natively. But a lot of these upscalers are getting so good, well, mainly DLSS, but DLSS is getting so good that there's a lot of cases where you can't even like tell. It's really impressive. So I wouldn't expect that the 5090 or 5080 like scrap or deprioritize rather the upscaling stuff. I think they continue to double down on it because it's just that good. But as they continue to train these models, these super sampling models, I think that they're only going to get better and better and better. And, you know, we've seen the discussions online of what they'll eventually be able to do, where you can take it and like you can kind of pair the engine, the game engine, with the graphics card. So you could feed the graphics card upscaling model information about like the texture used on the street, or about what's in the skybox, or other information about the scene that's being rendered. And then it could then go and upscale those individual puddles based on that. It could upscale the road with information specifically taken from the game that's informing the upscaler in that moment. There's other things that have been discussed where there's specific upscaling training done by individual games. So you could have a game that's trained DLSS on how to upscale it based on like native rendered footage, and then the upscaler learns how to make Alan Wake 2 look the best it possibly can, and then it upscales based on that depending on which game you're in. So there's so many little bitty things that they can do to continue to overhaul it. But you know, that's why I've kind of had to go. I initially was like, I don't know, the upscaler thing, it's such a crutch. And I do think it is, I do think it is a crutch for a lot of people, or for a lot of devs, where they feel like they don't need to optimize, maybe not the devs, but the publishers. They feel like they don't need to optimize the game because they can just pass it through an upscaler to hit a frame rate target. That was like the story of Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Is that what it was called? That doesn't sound right in my brain. It was Fallen Order. Is it just Jedi Survivor? That doesn't sound right, but I think that is right. Anyway, but like that game did not run anywhere near as well as it should have. And it was because they just relied on FSR2 to upscale it to make it run at a decent frame rate. And it should have been delayed like a lot, but they used that as a crutch to just put it out there, or EA did. So I used to be very like annoyed by it, but the more I've seen the improvements they've made to like the path reconstruction for DLSS, I think that was in 3.4 or 3.5, and then the other stuff they've done with frame generation. Now I'm a firm believer, like these upscaling techniques and algorithms are insane. Pisser seems like it's a solid foundation, but it does seem like it could get better as time goes on. It's just going to take some time to get there. Right now it seems fine. Like the biggest compliment they can give to PSSR is that it's not as bad as FSR, which is not saying a whole lot because FSR is pretty bad. So eventually it could get to the point of being on the level of like DLSS, maybe 3, but by that point NVIDIA is probably going to be in like DLSS 4 territory and just curb stomping everybody.
Ray tracing techniques. You won't get those big ray traced features in performance mode, but it will target 60 FPS with an image quality akin to the graphics mode on the base PS5. It has to use a fairly low base resolution of 864p to get there though. It's still a great looking game in this mode, although it's definitely a blurrier image. Regardless, I find Alan Wake 2 shows a noticeable improvement over what you get from the base PS5, even if there are still compromises to be made. Now, when there's a new powerful console, there's always
Rolex. I'm sorry guys, I feel like Monday, we talked about watches, like luxury watches, for the last 45 minutes of the stream. I'm sorry. Once I go down one of those rabbit holes, it's really tough for me to stop, you know? But even now, I'm starting a rabbit hole while apologizing for another one. I'm out of control.
A racing game to flex the hardware. Taking speedy race cars down the track in F124 provides a pretty clear example of what ray tracing can do. When looking at the Pro Enhanced Quality mode and the base PS5's Quality mode, it's easy to pick up on the improvements in reflections and lighting, especially on rain-soaked tracks, and the Pro is able to do this by using PSSR to still target 60 FPS. Dragon's Dogma 2 is an example of where the PS5 Pro can bring a game out of the depths of weak technical performance to a much more playable state.
It's such a bummer how bad that game ran. Like, you just had to accept that it was going to be running between 40 and 25 for the entirety of its runtime. This was still this year. This feels like forever ago, but Dragon's Dogma 2 was this year, and I really, really liked it, like a lot. It really slowed down towards the end. I understand, though, why people don't like it. It's like I said in my review, it's super polarizing. It's something you will love and think is innovative and brilliant, or you're gonna hate it and think it's too slow and clunky and all that. It's really too bad. It's really too bad.
By using PSSR, the Pro is able to put out noticeably higher and more consistent frame rates than the base console can, whether you choose to prioritize performance or graphics, which enables ray tracing too. Though it's not without noticeable drops in busy areas. It's a powerful console, but it's not magic. On the other hand, something like Final Fantasy XVI is an example of how a game without Pro enhancements, or at least an uncapped frame rate option to just let the extra power work, isn't going to benefit in a tangible way without an update, since it's bound by the limitations that were built for its graphics modes. It's still capped at 30 FPS when prioritizing graphics, while the performance mode still targets 60 FPS with lesser visual quality. Now, that's a lot of technical information, but despite all those enhancements, the question still stands: is it actually worth buying a PS5 Pro? Frustratingly, the answer is always going to be, it depends on you. As someone who used to be a sucker for upgrading to new generations of high-end graphics cards to push my PC to its limits, the PS5 Pro scratches that old itch because I do notice and appreciate the differences it provides. The visual quality that the Pro enhanced performance modes have thus far look fantastic, and it's all the more enticing because hitting 60 FPS gives a smooth gameplay experience that's tough to come back from. I've also found performance modes on the base PS5 to be lackluster in some cases, and since the Pro has shown the potential in addressing that shortcoming, I find that the new console can be a worthy investment. There are a few games out there now that make the Pro a more enticing prospect. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's performance mode on base PS5 feels too compromising to me, with in-engine cutscenes and close-ups on characters during pivotal moments looking muddled at 60 FPS. Thus, I bit the bullet and managed with 30 FPS gameplay so that I could get the visual experience that uplifted its storytelling qualities. It worked well enough for that sort of game, but I'd much rather have been playing at 60 FPS. With the Pro Enhancement patch, Rebirth has a new Versatility mode that merges both the high-quality graphics setting with 60 FPS performance into a singular mode, so there's no choice paralysis, and it delivers the exact type of experience I wanted.
Yeah, this is an example of one that's like night and day. You know, if you're really, really into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you're probably justified in upgrading just for that. But elsewhere, I mean.
That said, I know and can fully understand people who don't care quite as much about having state-of-the-art systems to play their favorite games, so long as they meet a reasonable balance between performance and fidelity, which the original PS5 only rarely has a problem pulling off with existing games. And for a lot of people, playing at 30 FPS isn't necessarily a deal breaker, and if you're happy with that level of performance, you might as well be happier with a few $100s still in your bank account. And the Pro is a hard sell for anybody who expects a whole new experience when they unbox a brand new console. The PS5 Pro doesn't fundamentally transform how games are played, it just makes them look prettier and run smoother. And if you're happy with how your games look and play on a base PS5, then it's absolutely not worth paying a premium to upgrade.
Got that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty basic. So basic, dare I say, that I can graph it in MS Paint like a true G. I think there's kind of a few different categories you can be into. So if you own a PS5, you're in one category, okay? If you don't know PS5, if you don't own one, you're in a different category. If you are like a maybe you're a PS4 is like a separate category, and then like PC gamer, considering whether it's worth jumping in here. PS5 gamer upgrading to the Pro. I think that this one, what is it? What's the Costco guys say? It's boom or what? Bust? No. What do they say? This is not boom. I think if you own a PS5, upgrading to the Pro is kind of tough to justify. It is not. It's doom. Okay, it's doom. Okay. I think it's doom. Maybe. If you don't own a PS5, you don't own a PS4, maybe you've been rocking a Switch, or maybe you play through xCloud, whatever you do, or maybe you're wanting to get into gaming, then as a first time to get into it, I think that this one could make more sense to save up the extra money and go for it, because it is going to make a big difference. And this will come up over here too. We currently don't have a lot of exclusives to the PS5 yet that are like really console sellers. A lot of the stuff that has been exclusive has then gone to PC, and like there just haven't been a lot of things that are really cutting edge that justify it, unlike 2016 with the PS4 Pro at that time. So I think that you can hold off if you're waiting for those exclusives, but with the PS4, if you have a PS4, you don't have a PS5, and you've been waiting to upgrade and you are in the PlayStation ecosystem this time, I mean, I think that makes sense. You don't have to buy it now because, again, there's not much reason to buy it right now. But if you're going to get in, similar to the people who don't have a PS5, I think if you're going to get in for the first time, yeah, go for the Pro, save up the extra money and do it that way. Now, if you have a PC and you are considering getting into the PlayStation ecosystem at some point, right now, there really is no reason to do it. The performance is going to be probably worse than you're used to. For $700, you could upgrade your GPU, assuming you sell your current one. And you could get a really solid 3080 or something like that, or 4080 and rock and roll that way. The only reason you would do it is if there were exclusives you could not play on PC. Problem is for PlayStation is that pretty much everything they've had that is exclusive, they've just been bringing over to PC. So not much reason to leave the PC ecosystem so long as you're patient. The difference normally would be if they were launching stuff and it's exclusive for like a year, where like Ghost of Yotei, exclusive to PlayStation 5 for a year. Okay, maybe then if you don't want to wait a year, spend $700, get the PS5 Pro, because it's going to be closest to what you're used to experiencing and play it that way. But we're not there yet. Maybe next year you can justify buying it, but it's not next year yet. I mean, the kind of elephant in the room with this also is GTA 6, frankly. That's kind of the big thing, where GTA 6 is coming next year. It is going to be exclusive to consoles. No PC port for probably 18 months is kind of what they're saying to expect. And in that case, I mean, it will be probably the best place to play GTA 6 for a year and a half until it comes to PC. And in that case, like, if you're buying a GTA 6 machine, it probably will be the best one. But it's not next year yet. And we don't know if this is getting delayed into 2026. We just don't know yet. But it's one of the strange things where it's like, guys, just because it may not make sense right this second, okay? You might just be buying something that's going to sit on your shelf. Like I've been thinking about, I'm like, okay, so I get a PS5 Pro. What do I do with it? I probably test it on one day, and then I'm going to go back to playing Metaphor on my ROG Ally. Like I'm not going to have anything to really push it or utilize it for. So it may not make sense to buy it right now. It could make sense next year with Ghost of Yotei, GTA 6, and those games. In which case, yeah, check it out. Go buy it. But as of right now, I just don't think it's a super solid offering. And especially as time goes by, you know, the disk drives might become more common and more readily available. There might also be other things that become more available, like maybe bundle deals where games are included or where the stand is included, and you'll get a much better deal for it. So I think where I'm at right now is, for most people, just wait. Just chill. You'll be fine. Very few people, I think, need this day one. But, you know, maybe if you really, really want to play Horizon in like cutting edge fidelity, maybe then it makes sense. But as right now, I think it just doesn't make the most sense at this point. You know, it's the same thing with like the brand new iPhone. I tried to get the new iPhone, the 16 whatever thing, and I ended up returning it because like the whole selling point was all this AI stuff, and the AI stuff is not even included day one. Like it comes months later, or they're like sometime this winter or this fall. Okay, so maybe this fall it makes sense. Maybe this fall it makes sense to buy that new iPhone. Right now it doesn't, because none of that stuff is realized. You can actually use it and put it to its max use. So I think there's a nuance to the discussion, but I think that for most people, chill. You'll be okay. Wait for a bundle. Wait till there's a game that justifies it. Because if you can't tell me right now that you're going to play like one or two games on it that will look significantly better, you probably don't need it. If you're saying, hey, I've been waiting to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and what was Alan Wake 2. I've been waiting to play those on console for this. Okay, you can probably justify it. I think you could justify it. But if you don't have something loaded up like that, I don't think it makes sense. So maybe later this year, something like that. Okay. But the trade-in deals are now, those trade-in deals are, in my opinion. In my opinion. To be fair, I live in a college town. We have a lot of college students that come in and out that will buy consoles or computers or cameras and stuff when they move here or when they're preparing to leave for summer vacation. And so there's actually pretty good deals with tech all the time. So if you're selling like your PS5, people will buy it for like $395, $380. You throw in a game or two. College students eat that stuff up. But even if you're not in a college town, you can probably go on to eBay or Facebook Marketplace and sell it that way. I think you can make a lot more money. Most definitely GTA 6 on the Pro. Why did they wait to give PC GTA? There's kind of two things with it. For one, it is a lot of work just when it comes to development and optimization across the whole gamut of hardware. But beyond that, the other piece is that they plan to launch GTA Online, and GTA Online, the second that there's any sort of PC port, all their stuff breaks. Like it gets real toxic real quick. So they're just like, hey, we'll put it out. We'll take our time doing it and do it that way. And the other side of it too is that obviously elephant in the room is that they get to double dip, which they'd be very happy about, because there's going to be a lot of people that buy it on PlayStation 5 or Xbox who then buy it again on PC because they just want to experience it in its mostly cutting edge form. And it's sad that that's what it is, but I mean, let's be honest, that's what it is. Double dip. Okay. New segment. Let me catch up on these. Let's see, where was I? Silver, thank you for that. But we need to know what Lord Todd told us to vote for, or who he told us to vote for. I wonder who Todd votes for. I mean, not like I don't care, but I'm also curious. You know, considering he's like really buddy with Elon Musk, I wouldn't be surprised if he went that way. Because remember, he did that whole panel at E3 where he was saying they were like buddies and friends and stuff. Arthur Morgan's horse, he's here, guys, said, bro, the election results make me want to play Hitman Absolution for no reason whatsoever. Also, please do PSSR review with Jor Raptor for the PS5 Pro. I mean, I could probably get my hands on a PS5 Pro pretty easy. I got connections. So I guess if you guys want to see videos or a video of me breaking it down, we could do that. And we'll talk to Joe Raptor about it. Roberto, thank you for that. Hey, Luke, love the channel. Have you seen Off the Grid? It has controversy as the in-game currency wants to be a crypto coin and having NFTs. Loving the game regardless of lackluster performance. I think I saw Tim the Tatman playing it. It's just really hard to pitch a like all anybody is going to think of when you have a cryptocurrency or something like that in the game is they're going to think that you're just doing like a get rich quick pump and dump kind of scheme. And on the flip side, like I think if they made like a really solid game that performed really, really well and the people ate up and loved, and then later they introduced that as like an optional feature, that could potentially go over better. But it's just, for a lot of people, that is a turnoff. They hear crypto stuff, they hear NFTs, they hear that stuff, and it's just immediately like, nah, I'm good. And they just move on. Like, that's why I haven't bothered playing it yet. I've heard people say they eat it up, they love it, but I've just been like, I'm good. Yeah. Ricagius, thank you for the 5. If you're a PlayStation gamer, the best use of $700 would be to buy an ROG Ally for access to Xbox and the PC ecosystems. Just my 2 cents. Honestly, I think you're right. For $700, you can get our RG Ally. It's really impressive. Just a really impressive piece of hardware. You can get access to, of course, Steam, that whole catalog. You can also play Game Pass on it. You can play xCloud and stream through it. Like, the RG Ally doesn't have amazing battery life when you're running stuff at like full power. But if you use it to use the xCloud stuff, it can last 5, 6, 7 hours. Like, really impressive. RG Ally over the Steam Deck. The reason I prefer the RG Ally is because of the fact that it runs Windows. So if you want Ubisoft Connect, you just download it. If you want to run Game Pass through the Xbox launcher, you just download the Xbox launcher, log in, and you're good. Like, there's no extra hoops. You can run that stuff on the Steam Deck as well, but you have to do a lot of extra work because it has to like partition part of the little SSD, and then it has to boot that separately, and then you have to have the app launchable through Steam, and there's just a lot of extra hoops to jump through. It's doable, but it doesn't run great, and it's just kind of inconvenient. Anyway. Nick, thank you for that. I don't think Sony devs have even really taken the most out of the base PS5 yet. I just, a lot of the biggest games, which to be fair, like God of War Ragnarok. Like, God of War Ragnarok was awesome. Like, this game ran on PS4 as well. Like, that's insane. It was really, really good. So, a lot of these big projects were cross-generational, and even if they were next-gen exclusive, they probably would have just taken advantage of the extra hardware by, like, cranking this or that. Maybe they ray trace this reflection or something. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. It seems like a lot of these consoles have been specifically enhanced for ray tracing, and ray tracing for a lot of players just doesn't make that big of a difference. Like, for a lot of players, it's just not really a deal breaker, or it's not a big like mover in their decision as to whether they want to continue playing the game or not, or buy the game or hardware. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Okay. Man, I want to play through this again. So good. It's on PC now too. So if you get an RG Ally, you want to play it on the RG Ally, you can play it there. Sure can. I don't actually know. Does it run well on the RG Ally? Has anybody tried it? Probably doesn't run great, would be my expectation, but you never know. John Kratos for president. Yeah. Do I think gaming will be affected by the election? No. I don't know. I mean, you might hear like a sappy speech or something at the Game Awards where like somebody gets on stage and has some rant or something, kind of like they did back in like 2017. Wasn't it 2017 the Oscars? I think that's when there was like a huge thing. So there's going to be stuff like that, I would expect, but no, as for whether it like affects video games individually, no. Games take so long to make. Even if they wanted to do something, the games are already done. Like, just doesn't work that way. Blah blah, happy speech, blah blah. I mean, yeah, we all know the types. I mean, my wife found out the election results not because she was following them, she was playing Dragon Age, but because she checked Facebook and saw people like melting down saying they were going to move to like Canada and stuff. It's a little bit funny. It's like, I remember you guys saying that too. I remember last time when you guys said that. And you're still here. Isn't that weird? It's strange. It's weird. It's like you said that last time, but then you didn't leave. Okay. Okay, we talked about PS5 Pro. We touched on that. We got to touch on this too. Okay. Okay. Oops. I approved the short look. Thank you. You guys got to remember, no matter what happens in any elections, no matter what happens in the world, there's always money in the banana stand. There's always money there. You got to remember. Okay. You guys ready for this? Let's talk about somewhere else where there's a lot of money. New segment. Schwarz King, thank you for the resub, by the way. 3 months. Hello from across the ocean. Love your content. Keep up the good work. I'm vibing. Me too, my friend.
I'm vibing.
Me too. Thank you, my friend. You ready? Harry Potter 2.0. How Warner Brothers plans to keep the magic alive with a new HBO series, video games, and pricey merch. This is not going to come as a surprise to any of you guys, but Harry Potter is like the last bastion of Warner Brothers that reliably makes money. Even then, like, it's kind of hit or miss. The Fantastic Beasts franchise, they've kind of abandoned, apparently. They've said they're just, we're good. They're moving on. But they had a big old hit just last year. Little game by the name of Starfield. I'm kidding. By the name of Hogwarts Legacy that blew up, made tons of money, sold over the course of a year, like 25 million copies. Basically just brought in like $1 billion casually. Really, really wild. And so now, because executives will do what executives do, they're like, okay, we have one thing people really like. Let's find a way to milk it even more than we already are. And that's what they're doing. So in this article, I encourage you to read it. It's from Variety. We'll look at a couple of little tidbits here and there. But in this article, they describe sort of their broader vision for the franchise of Harry Potter. In case you're not familiar, they already announced that they are launching this HBO like reboot of the movies. So of course they did the original movies through the 2000s, and those were wildly successful, huge. I mean, it was Marvel before Marvel. They were massive. Every single one was breaking records. And then the franchise kind of went away for a little bit. And then later they introduced the Wizarding World at Universal Studios. Orlando, I think, was the first one. And those theme parks blew the franchise up again. And then they tried to do Fantastic Beasts, and that didn't really go anywhere because it wasn't very good. And it also was weird because they cast Johnny Depp as, what's his name? I can't remember the name of the character, but they cast Johnny Depp, and then all that Amber Heard stuff happened. So then they fired Johnny Depp and they replaced him with Mads Mikkelsen. Grindelwald, thank you, Grindelwald. They replaced Johnny Depp with Mads Mikkelsen, and it just, the whole thing, it also like starred Ezra Miller, who is now facing like tons of charges of assault and all sorts of stuff, apparently. Not a great person, it seems. So kind of a mess, just a wee bit of a mess, but this time they have it figured out. And they're going to do a big, wild, crazy, reboot where they're going to serialize it into an HBO show. So think like Game of Thrones, but Harry Potter. More on that in a second. They also are trying to kick off new things. Wizards of Baking. It's a hat tip to Warner Media and Discovery's beginnings. The two giants came together for a $43 billion merger in 2022, precisely to mine new riches by marrying Warner Brothers controlled properties with Discovery's strong lineup of lifestyle channels. They're literally just making a Harry Potter themed baking show. Innovation is what I think they think that this is. I don't. If you're like, how do we save Warner Brothers? I would not have said Harry Potter baking show, but you know, what do I know? They have something, I guess, that they're talking about. Warner Brothers was encouraged last year by strong response from fans to the game Harry Potter Legacy, Hogwarts Legacy, which wound up as the top-selling game of 2023 and has crossed 30 million units sold as of last month. So 30 million, multiple millions of that I'm sure are on like PS4 or on Switch because they ported it over there. Like they've done a lot of work on this game to get it out everywhere, and it's made them a lot of money. Not to mention that there's sort of cascading effects with this, where Harry Potter as a franchise does better when a game like pops off like this, because a lot of people, myself included, played the game and were like, okay, now I want to rewatch the movies. So then we go and we rewatch all the movies, and then you're like, oh, and I have kids now. I'm gonna buy the first book to read to my son, like when he's old enough. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I want to share this with him, and it just cascades all the way down. They make money each step along the way. They go on. Warner Brothers Games division has also churned out Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, released in August, and a remastered version of the Lego Harry Potter collection of games. It has awarded licenses for multiple mobile games to be developed based on the Wizarding World. And Warner Brothers Games is at work on a video game sequel to I can't read today. I don't know what it is. Hogwarts Legacy, which is, quote, a very big priority, end quote, for Warner Brothers Discovery's C-suite. I really, really hope that they are not going to just turn this into like a live service mess. Because you remember, the same company that made Hogwarts Legacy made Suicide Squad like less than a year later. So if you're questioning their judgment, I think that's fair. If anything, it seems like Hogwarts Legacy was a bit of a fluke for them. You know, they were like very surprised that it popped off so well. So, you know, we're not saying that it's going to happen, but just like the first time around, you should maintain healthy skepticism. When I've already brought it up. I am on the email lists. It's gonna read here in a second.
Forge Horizons is now a member. Hello, Mr. Liv. Mr. Stefan Liv. How do you feel that we still haven't seen any uncut gameplay sequences from Indiana Jones? Got me a bit concerned.
Yeah, it's also weird to me. The game's closed, but there's something funky about it. Joe Raptor put it well. He said he thought it looks like a VR game. And now that he said that, I can't unsee it. So I think that that's part of it. I think the tighter FOV is not helping it. You know, I think it looks just off slightly. Most likely, I think it's probably just like a little clunky to play. I think it's just really, really clunky. And that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I just think it's going to be kind of clunky and probably give you a little bit of motion sickness, and that's that. Like, it's not the end of the world, but the more I see it, I'm like, I think this could be fun, but it there's just something about it. There's something about it, you know. It's going to be a lot of stealth sections and stuff, so the AI is going to be crucial. And the clips I've seen of the game, the AI looks not quite like Star Wars Outlaws levels bad, but not great. So I hope that they polish that up. Yeah, Luke's trying not to get motion sickness challenge impossible. I get it's bad. It's bad. If I play a first person game with too tight of an FOV, I'm done. I can play it for maybe 20 minutes, then I'm out. I'm out. People have asked me, like, why don't you play more games on stream? Part of the reason is when I have like these bright lights as well, like it just breaks my brain. Because you might not be able to tell, but like there's a massive, basically spotlight right there shining on me. It's like, try playing one of these games when you already get motion sick in them with a flashlight shining on your face. Like it can be a bit of a, woe is me, right? It's like that one guy, he's like, being a streamer is way harder than a 9 to 5, which is ridiculous. Like, no, it's not at all. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We're not talking about that right now. I don't know if you saw that, but it was very funny. Some streamer rambling about how hard his life was while he's literally sitting in a mansion in a room with like 30-foot ceilings. He's like, doing this is way harder than a 9 to 5, man. And it's like, no, it's not at all. It is not more difficult. It is way easier. Like, come on. You slept until 11 today, sir. Like, your life is not harder than the people getting up early. Like, come on. So anyway, continuing on with this. What I was saying, sorry, Jacob, you're going to have to cut all this out. What I was saying, oh yeah, I am on the list for job offer, like job listings and stuff for Warner Brothers, Avalanche Studios, whatever. And so whenever they have a new job, I get an email telling me to apply for it. And the reason I signed up for that is because I want to know if they have any job listings that are requesting like live service experience with battle passes, experience. Like, I want to know if they're looking for anybody with experience from that like world. And right now, the only thing that I've seen that they bring up a lot in most of their job offer request things is experience with what they call live ops. Most of their producer level roles request experience with this. Most of their senior design experience requests, knowledge of these things. But this is the bit. Live ops can mean almost anything. Live ops is just live operations. So that could mean regular updates. You update the game, fix bugs, boom. That's a live operation. You got to continue to do that. It could mean, we have a system in the game where we can update with like little, when you launch Assassin's Creed Odyssey or something, and it has little bubble that says like, check out the newest Assassin's Creed game, or check out Ubisoft's latest thing here. Stuff like that, where it's a living game that's constantly updating and stuff to refer you to other things they're doing. Could be something like that, where maybe there's a tie-in with the TV show on HBO, and they'd say, ooh, episode 1 just launched, check it out here, and you do it that way. Could mean a lot of different things, but I have seen this phrasing specifically listed in many of their job descriptions. Could be absolutely nothing, though. I want to be clear about that, because that term is kind of like just saying, we want you to have experience with the internet. It's very broad. It's very, very broad. It's not like they're asking for experience with battle passes. If I see that, I will tell you, but I've not seen anything that egregious yet, at least. Anyway, let's see. Okay. Haddad says the games team has been coordinating some of the big picture storytelling elements in the Hogwarts Legacy sequel game with the storylines that will play out in the Harry Potter HBO series coming from HBO or from Warner Brothers Television. He notes that the success of Hogwarts Legacy helped stoke confidence in that the time was right to make a major Potter push. Quote, the rest of the company was very curious about what we helped to unlock with Hogwarts Legacy last year. Which is very interesting. They're also, of course, expanding Warner Brothers' like big Universal Studios Orlando. They have a big Harry Potter land themed around Paris that's opening as well. That will be in early May as part of Epic Universe. So they're doing all of this. They're putting a lot of eggs in that Harry Potter basket. But what is the biggest takeaway here is that they specifically want to coordinate between the game and the HBO series certain storylines that will play out in the HBO series. So they want you to play the game and then see things that you saw in the game or learned or story elements. They want that to echo into the show. My understanding is that the show is just the books. It's just a retelling of the books. So it's very interesting to me that they're saying that, because does that mean that they're going to have more modern, not modern day, but like Harry Potter elements? Like, are you going to see Harry Potter? Are there going to be flash forwards? Is there going to be like backstory? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you could do like a Hogwarts Legacy 2 where you're in the school at the same time as Harry. And they kind of interweave the events of the books and films, but then you're doing your own thing separately. And they try to like do little tie-ins where they could explain something that happened in the movie or in the books by what the player does. There's cool things they could do with it. They could also like totally butcher it at the same time. But at the very least, it's intriguing. It's intriguing. This though is why I don't love. Let me show you why I don't have a lot of confidence in these adaptations, the HBO show, or anything else. What's one of the biggest, most infuriating things about like the modern era of Netflix adaptations, Disney adaptations, Amazon adaptations? It's that they claim they are going to be truthful to source material that people know and that people like. And then they just try to totally reinvent it because they're trying to like get some message across, or because they find it problematic or something like that. Notably, like having people that worked on The Witcher show that openly discussed how sexist the books were and stuff like that. And it's like, well, then why were you hired to do it? Like, if you hate it so much, why are you making a show about it? And that's also kind of insulting to the people who enjoy that franchise, that you need to watch your adaptation of the franchise. Like, you know, it's the old saying, if you hate something, never be surprised when you don't have any of it. Whether that's money, if you hate money and wealth, yeah, you shouldn't be surprised when you have no money. If you hate like the audience for a certain book or game or movie or something, yeah, you shouldn't be surprised when they don't like watching you or hanging out with you or supporting you. Like, it's pretty simple and self-explanatory. But the reason I don't have a lot of confidence in this is because the newly announced Harry Potter TV writer, Andy Greenwald, he said with the Writers Guild of America website, he announced that he was working on this. But on his podcast, he was asked if it would be possible to directly port or adapt Rowling's Harry Potter novels to television. And he initially bluntly responded yes. But then he explained how popular novels in the franchise were. And then he says, really, really rich. And they were very long books, especially later in the series. People adore them. Successive generations are discovering and loving them every day. The stories packed everywhere. Stores are packed everywhere. They are in every country around the world. People are buying chocolate frogs and hats and the owls, all of it. You can monetize almost every single aspect of it, and they kind of have, which is absolutely true. So the idea of an incredibly rigorous text-to-screen adaptation is, I think, probably a safe bet to success. However, if something is trumpeting its absolute rock-steady faithfulness, I think the pleasures that can be derived from that are probably not going to be for me, because I didn't read all the books. I read them to my older daughter until she could read them for herself, and then she dusted me. And I think there's some other creative possibilities within this world, but J.K. Rowling controls all of it, and it's not going to let anyone else come play with her toys. And that's her right, and is obviously very profitable, so that's what we get. So they have a writer for the show that hasn't read the books and is expressing a desire to do something else which is like already some of the initial like stuff that they were describing about the Witcher show, where they're like, we just think Andrzej Sapkowski's world has a lot of potential for us to discover other things like Frangilla and explore the dynamics of that and court intrigue and all these things. And it was nothing anybody wanted. But it didn't go anywhere. The difference here, though, is that J.K. Rowling does still have absolute control over everything Harry Potter related. So if J.K. Rowling does not want something to be rewritten, if she doesn't want this or doesn't want that, she can overwrite it. It's one of the things that she, I think, intelligently put into all of the contracts when she signed over the rights for all the movies and books and everything. She retained complete creative control. Would have been very easy for her to just totally let go. Look at what happened to Star Wars when George Lucas sold it off. George Lucas could have signed it retaining complete control, but he didn't. And now, I mean, we can see everything that kind of happened there. So I think that it's very, it's less likely that this goes really, really sour, but I'm already seeing some of the like red flags that popped up when it came to like The Witcher on Netflix, where it's like you have writers that have not read the thing that they are adapting. How can you adapt something if you haven't read it? Call me crazy. I don't know how you do that. I don't think you can. We've decided to adapt the book of Matthew from the Bible. I haven't read it, but we're going to do like a big movie about it. Do you plan on reading it? No. I want to go a different direction. You'd be like, what are you talking about? You sound insane. So anyway, there's all that. Cliff notes are good enough. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Harry Potter as a franchise, still big. They're pouring a ton of money into the sequel. The HBO show is expected to launch in 2026, which means that the Hogwarts Legacy sequel probably comes out around the same time because they want to tie them together. That, I think, is a really, really safe bet. Imagine Hogwarts Legacy 2, probably early 2026. And they're going to put a lot of eggs in that basket. A lot. So buckle up, Puckaroo. Buckle up, Buckaroo. Let me see, where were we? 53 Nights. Dumbledore refusing to acknowledge Voldemort's new name and calling him Tom is foreshadowing of Rowling refusing to accept people's chosen identities. Dumbledore refusing to acknowledge calling Tom. Yeah, this is kind of meta. Imagine that. I don't know. I get the impression that a lot of J.K. Rowling's writing was just kind of like winging it in real time. It's like, yes, I meant to do that. Yes. You know, I think there was a lot of that. Have I watched The Penguin? No, I'm a binge watcher. So when I get really into something, I binge it all the way through. So I'm waiting for all the episodes to like be out, ready to go. I binge it all. I don't like the wait each week, you know? I've heard it's amazing. I've heard it's great. But yeah, I don't tend to like to watch it like in that way. Sunday's the finale. Yeah, so I imagine like Monday I'll start watching it. Like just binge through it. Let's see. And then Thin Blue, thank you for the 5. The real crime here is what they did to Lord of the Rings. I have not watched Rings of Power or Ring of Power, whatever it is. I've heard nothing but meh things about it. And then other people that downright hate it. So I really don't know if it's worth starting. Do not watch it. Don't do it. It's so good. From what I understand, they made Galadriel the actual definition of a Mary Sue. Oh, really, Loxy? One of my, oh yeah, the orcs just want to be happy and raise their kids. I think again, like if we go back to what even the sentiment in that Harry Potter writers statements were, it's this desire to like add their own spin to it, which I can totally understand and appreciate. You don't want to just do the same thing over and over again. You want to add a specific flair to it. But there's this like obsession around reinventing the wheel. Like sometimes people like something and that's okay. You don't have to like come at it from a different perspective. You know, I see it all the time where like me and my wife, we're relatively involved in like local theater and plays and musicals and stuff. And I see it all the time where like they'll do the meme and the old joke is that like, you know, Hamlet in space or Hamlet on Mars or whatever, because each director needs to add their own spin to it. You know, they need to do their own thing. And I just don't think that that's necessary. Like sometimes people just want to go to the theater and see Hamlet. They don't need to see Hamlet on Mars. They don't need to see some crazy reinvention of it. They just want to go see the show that they know and that they like. And I think that's totally, totally fine. But with a lot of this stuff, it feels like, well, everybody knows Lord of the Rings. Everybody knows the orcs. What if we made the orcs sympathetic? What if we did that? It's like, hey, I don't think you need to. You know, it's like, it's like, what if we rewrite the Bible? And you know, this Satan guy, what if we actually made it so like he turned on God because he needed to feed his family, and then his two kids, one of whom had angel leukemia, and you know, it's like I don't think we need to do all that. I think it was kind of good where it was. You know, bro, that exists. I realize like there are like comedic stories and stuff where people have kind of rewritten it. I told you guys the story of the other day. I did a play called The Last Days of Judas Iscariot where I played Satan, and in that it was telling the story of like Judas trying to make him more sympathetic, because in a lot of ways like Judas is a victim at the end of the day of the story, like predestined to be damned to hell. That's a bad rap. You know, that's a bad rap right there. That's literally Paradise Lost. Yeah, but that's poetry. I guess it's different. I don't know. It is literally Paradise Lost, though. You're right. I mean, it's not going and needing to like feed your family and your demonic children, but that would be funny if that's what it was. Just anyway, I think that there's sometimes, maybe we qualify it this way. Sometimes reinventions end up really good, like a Paradise Lost. Other times, they're hot, stinky garbage, because not everybody is as good of a writer as Dante Alighieri, you know? Sometimes you're just not that good. Hate to break it to you, Netflix writers. You might not be that good. And that's okay. But like if I go to the movie theater and I'm going to see Titanic, the movie, I don't want to see the movie where the story of the Titanic is taken in a new direction. You know, like I don't need to see that. Just give me the Titanic. The ship sinks, that's okay. Like we don't, yeah, the Titanic was actually made out of bubble wrap, and so it actually floated. It's like, stop it. Yeah, new direction. This time, the iceberg hits them. Yeah, this time the iceberg is mad. Oh, man. Okay, let's talk about this one. Yeah, the iceberg has a family. Yeah, it's the Titanic hitting the iceberg. But the Titanic just like goes off, it sinks. But then the iceberg and its family then have to wander the ocean mortally wounded. Yeah, see, Maybe we need to be nicer to icebergs. That could work. Yeah. Should we make like an entire streaming service that's just like remakes of famous movies where we reinvent them unnecessarily to just be way, way worse? I think we should do that. If you're a venture capitalist and you have like $100 million, call me. Please. We'll be friends. Okay, let's talk about this. New segment. Okay. Star Wars Outlaws' new creative director promises big changes after disappointing sales. This is the first time I can think of a time where a non-live service game has gotten a new game director post-launch. Now, in this case, I think what's happening, people have said, oh, well, they were really unhappy with the way the last guy did it, and so they're kicking him to the curb and they're bringing in a new guy. I'm not actually sure if that's what it is. My understanding is that the guy that did direct this has just been moved to work on The Division. So they're just off doing that. They're working on The Division 3. So I don't think it's that they were like, they're trying to clean house or anything. I think it's just that he's moving on. They brought somebody else in to try and salvage some of Star Wars Outlaws. But the new guy's name is Drew Reckner, and he's promising big changes after the open world adventure debuted to disappointing sales. He said in the update that Ubisoft had, quote, been gathering and actioning players' feedback since launch and has identified key areas where it can elevate the game experience to better meet player expectations. Sentiments such as these are often seen in the wake of a disastrous game launch, such as Star Wars Outlaws, despite it debuting to positive reviews. Poor sales shook a struggling Ubisoft, however, and it is now working to improve the game ahead of what it hopes to be a sales bump alongside its Steam launch headed into the holidays. What they're trying to do is on the 21st of this month, they're going to have a big update where they allegedly will fix a lot of stuff. Okay? Like a lot of stuff. They're going to try to revamp the AI. They're going to try to revamp some of the combat stuff. They're going to try to fix a lot of the lip syncing issues. They're going to fix some of the cutscenes, things like that. You can see update 1.3 arrived in October and brought a handful of big changes of its own, including improvements to stealth. Players were given more flexibility in how they approach situations alongside upgraded enemy activity to make gameplay feel more realistic. All of that's really solid, cool. But they aim to have this update on the 21st be like a total revamp that really, really fleshes out the game. So you can see the first key area of improvement to the game is combat, where we can see real opportunity to add more depth and excitement to the experience, further rewarding your tactics and precision. Our second key area is stealth, which is not only about improving readability and consistency of enemy detection, but also providing choice in how you approach each encounter. And finally, our third key area of focus is centered around the character controls, which means improving the reliability of cover, increasing the responsiveness of climbing and crouching, and generally improving the consistency of the controls overall. I think when this is done, assuming they fix the stealth, which was like my biggest issue with Star Wars Outlaws, was that it was buggy, and it also, like, the AI was so dumb. You could walk up to a guard, slam him with a fist in the side of the head, he flops to the ground, and somebody standing 2.5 feet next to him doesn't hear a thing. Like, it immediately took you out of any sense of immersion you had. It made the stealth kind of a joke. It wasn't good. It was really, really frustrating and disappointing. But they apparently are going to revamp it. And if they do, this then goes from, for me, like a 6. It starts climbing the ladder, maybe to like a 7. I think in my TLDW on my review, I said, if you play it on the hardest difficulty, you are less likely to notice the bad AI because they deal so much damage. You just have to run around quickly dealing with stuff. So if you play on the hardest difficulty, it feels like a 7. It's fine. If you play on anything else, it's like a 6. And I I stand by that. The bugs also ding it by like another point. So if they fix the bugs, if they fix the stealth and AI and stuff, then okay, I think we're in the realm of like, oh, it's good. I still had fun with it. I wish I played the game not buggy and busted, but it had some really fun ideas. Like the idea that you're just walking around Mos Eisley and you can hear two NPCs talking about where they stashed something. And if you know where that something is, you can go and find it. And it's really good loot that you wouldn't have found otherwise. Or all of these other, like the realization of Mos Eisley in an open world setting, really, really well done. I mean, it was not in concept bad. It was just the execution left a lot to be desired because it was rushed out. So I really, really hope that these updates actually do change something and do overhaul it. And, you know, going to Steam is also a good move. Like, this is the thing. Everybody, we like bashing companies when they screw up, and Ubisoft can make it easy, certainly. But part of critiquing anybody or anything is also commending them when they make a correct move and a correct decision. Going to Steam is a good move. Fixing the game, yes, it should have been like this at launch, but nonetheless, fixing it instead of abandoning it is a good move. And if they are able to fix it, if they're able to put it up on Steam and you can pick it up on a sale, if it's a good game at that point, like, props. Cool. Like, I'm glad to see it. It's really healthy for the industry to have more competition. And so I hope Ubisoft figures their stuff out so that there's more competition. Nobody should be rooting for any company to implode or have any issues. We should be rooting for them to figure their crap out and stop screwing up so much. Whether they can is a separate question, but, you know, time will tell. I don't see Ubisoft investing tons of time into a non-live game. I mean, I guess it sort of depends on how you define live, because they have live elements with some of their games that they've put a ton of time and money into. Like it doesn't look like Beyond Good and Evil 2 will have very many, if any, live elements in it. But that game probably has, I mean, the budget's got to be in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. The problem with Ubisoft is that they just pick and choose their battles so weirdly. Like they're spending years working on an NFT game that has 250 something $million microtransactions in it. But then they can all this other, like these other projects that have a lot of potential. And then they rush out these other games for no reason. Like they just have really, really weird priorities. Perry, think of the 10. That seems like the common Ubisoft mood. Make a mediocre game first, then fix it later. Happened with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, happened with Division 1, and now Star Wars Outlaws. When will they learn? They claim they've learned now, but they also claim this back with Breakpoint. The problem for them is what Yves Guillemot said in that statement after Star Wars Outlaws launched, when they announced they were delaying AC. He said, we typically launch our games with, in a solid state. But then he said, and there's often points of friction, is how he phrased it, points of friction that we fix after launch. And I was like, that's a really weird way of phrasing it. Because what he's saying is that we typically launch our games with bugs and we fix it later because people are willing to tolerate the bugs to a certain extent, and then we polish it up after the game goes out. And then in this statement he put out, he was like, yeah, and it seems like that's different now. We can't do that anymore. And I agree. Like, I don't think it ever should have been that way. But that's the thing is, like, Ubisoft got away with it for a long time. You could get away with it for a long time. And now, like, they've just destroyed their goodwill so much that nobody's willing to tolerate it anymore. You can get away with it for a bit, but each time you do it, there's more damage done to your brand each and every single time. And it seems like it finally caught up with them. So They're French. They won't learn. Oh man. I was talking to somebody who is French relatively recently. And I was asking them about like the stereotypes of like French people with wine, or French people with, I was like, there's stereotypes with Americans, we all ride pickup trucks and we all love our Coors Light and we're all cowboys, whatever. A lot of people in Europe kind of view us that way, even though most of us can't stand the pickup drivers and stuff. But I asked him about stereotypes he was frustrated by with France, and he was like, he was upset with like the stereotypes around like smoking. He's like, a lot of us don't smoke. He was upset about like the stereotypes around hygiene and stuff. But funnily enough, he was like, the one thing that is probably fair is the stereotype around like cowardice. He's like, we like to protest, but we don't like to fight. It's like, interesting. What a small but potent delineation. We like to protest, but we don't like to fight. You all live on farms. I mean, America is so much bigger than I think people realize. If you live in the UK, let me see. I don't know if this is perfectly accurate, but it's about accurate. Like, the whole of the UK could probably be squished into a single one of our Midwestern states. Like, the UK is quite small compared to the entirety of the US, Like, in the UK, if you live down here, you're hanging out with like 70% of the population of the country. So you all kind of know where everybody is at. Like, you're pretty in tune. In the US, you can live over here and you are totally out of touch with anybody to the west of here. Like, you just have no idea what their life is like. It's totally different. Different climate, different religious practices, different ways of driving. Like, even in Michigan. Have you guys ever tried driving in Michigan? Do we have anybody from Michigan in the chat? Real quick. Do we have anybody from Michigan in the chat? I gotta know. You're from Michigan? Ace? Yeah, tight. Yeah, yo. Okay. So like, I didn't know this until I helped my sister move out of Michigan. But here in Colorado, if you want to turn left, you just turn left, right? In Michigan, there's a separate term for it. It's called Michigan lefts. Okay? It's an at-grade intersection design that replaces the left far side turn at an intersection between major divided roadway and second minor roadway with a combination of a right near side turn followed by a U-turn, or a U-turn followed by a right near side turn. In other words, like in Michigan, if you want to turn here, there's no just like left turn. You are expected to go past it, make a U-E, and then turn right. A Michigan left, yeah. This is in the same country as like Texas or Colorado, where if I am driving down this road and I want to turn left right here, I just turn left. I wait for this traffic to end and then I turn left and I go. In Michigan, it's different. You go past it, make a U-turn, and then go to the right. But like, again, same country, different state, but same country, and totally different way of driving. Totally different way. Stop. This cannot be real. I'm not joking. I swear to God. People in chat who are from Michigan can attest to this. This is legit, okay? I hated it when I first moved here. Yeah. No, it was really jarring for me because what I did is I flew out. My sister was in Grand Rapids. And so I flew out there to help her move back to Colorado. So I drove like one of their cars for the move back from Michigan to Colorado. So I drove all the way through Michigan from Grand Rapids, all the way down through Illinois, through Chicago, all the way back to Colorado. And it's crazy because you'll go from totally different, one set of traffic laws to totally different traffic laws 2 hours away. It's wild. So yeah, if you lived in the States and you never heard of Michigan lefts, there you go. It is a real thing. Even the state of Michigan government website has a page dedicated to it. Yeah, this is the good example of it. It looks insane. This looks like it was drawn up by a madman, but it's real. It's real. Don't all of your cars drive themselves now in the US? The Teslas do. They're like scary good now, like ridiculously good. You can basically go from your house to anywhere you want and never touch the wheel. It's actually insane. Other than that, most cars have like lane keep where they'll stay in their lane, but not much else than that. Why don't they just use a roundabout in that case? Aren't roundabouts like way more dangerous? Where I live, there's a ton of roundabouts, like a ton. But apparently this is way safer. At some locations, Highway B is prohibited from traveling through the intersection. It's just crazy. Where I live, this would just be one big four-way intersection with a stoplight. Highway A, traveling left, would just wait for the light and then turn left. But here they have this whole system of like U-turns, then getting over into a separate lane. Like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. You don't even know. Intersections that have Michigan lefts do not allow traditional left turn movements. Instead, to turn left, drivers must continue straight through the intersection or turn right, then make a U-turn at a median crossover. Where I live, U-turns give me like, they stress me out, man. They stress me out. But in Michigan, that's like how you do it. They have less accidents? Yeah, I think so. It is safer. It is safer. Like it removes blind spots. It removes all of that stuff. Because when you're doing the U-turn, you're just looking at the oncoming traffic. You don't have to worry about anything else. With a traditional like left turn, so like if this is our road, maybe I do it gray, boop 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 boop, and then boop 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 boop, and then this is kind of our turn. So if I'm coming this way and I want to turn left, I'm gonna have to like wait for all of this oncoming traffic to stop or end. And I also have to be worried about any of these guys coming and maybe running the light this way, or these guys coming in this way. Like you're kind of looking in all these different directions just to make one turn. Whereas if you go past and you just do a UE so that you can make an immediate right turn, you're only looking at this point, all the way up here, you're only looking in one direction. So you don't have to keep an eye on all of the other traffic. So it is safer. It reduces accidents, but it breaks your brain the first time you see it. But I brought that up as an example of like, that is for one state. That's a good chunk of the size of the UK. That's just one state. You go here, traffic law is totally different. You know what we should do? We should pick one state in the union that has to drive like they do in the UK, that drives on the other side of the road. I think that would be really funny. Just to like totally break everybody's brain. I think that would be funny. Like imagine you cross state lines and then immediately you have to get in the other lane. Can we make it Texas? That would actually be really funny. That would actually be really funny if we decided to do it with Texas. Trump's like, my first executive action in the federal highways. You know what? The British had it right. Driving on the wrong side of the road. It's now the right side of the road. There you go. I will say, like, one of the funniest videos, one of the funniest videos I've ever seen was like these old clips. Oh yeah. People react to DUI laws in the 1980s. Where like they had just passed a law. This is so American. What I'm about to say. They had just passed a law back in the 80s that you cannot drink and drive. You would think this would receive unanimous support, right? Watch how they react.
Driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting common is when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
They're making laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be communist country.
Can't drink any beers when you're driving? Gotta wear a seatbelt? Yeah, the other one is seatbelt laws. Oh, it's the same thing. Yeah, like... Oh, man. We're used to it now, but like there was a time where introducing... like making it illegal to drink and drive was considered like a communist policy. Like, get out of here with this garbage. Like, it's insane. That's why whenever like people are like, hey, if this was good for the country, everybody would support it. I'm like, I don't know if I'd believe that, man. There's people that will freak out over anything. Anything. You can make it illegal to like cut off your own genitalia or like your own nose. It's like, hey, you can't cut off your nose. You just can't do it. It's bad for you. Don't cut off your nose with like kitchen scissors. And there would probably be people that are like, this is America. People freaking out. And it's like, no, it's just we wanted to not let you cut off your nose. Why we needed a law for that, I'm not sure, but like, oh man, YouTube has me figured out. Is this New Zealand? Okay, whenever you feel like America is like silly, look at the name of this.
Okay, here we go. Where are we?
We are in Tau Mata Whakatangi Hanga Ko Au Au O Tamatea Turipu Kaka Piki Ma Maunga Horo Nuku Poka Iwi He Nua Ki Tana Tahu to his lover.
We don't seem too ridiculous now, do we? Checkmate, atheists. Yeah, New Zealand. The New Zealand North Island city of that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Whenever I'm like, hey, we're a parody. We're a parody of a country. And then I'm like, oh wait, no. We're actually pretty solid. How is it said in normal conversation? I think like that. I don't think anybody's calling it that. I think people are like, oh yeah, the big city, you know? Isn't there a song where somebody sings it though? Oh yeah, some of these like
Today we had a big contrast in temperature across the UK, just 12 degrees over coastal parts of eastern England with cloudy skies, but in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from Llanfair Pwllgwyn, Gallgo Gerech Windrobol, Llantysilio Gogogoch, the temperature got to 21 Celsius.
I went fishing back in July. And when I grabbed the fish out of the water, it made this same sound.
Skies, but in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road.
I took the fish out of the water.
From Llanfair Pwllgwyn, Gallgo Gerech Windrobol, Llantysilio Gogogoch.
I'm sure it's a lovely town. I'm sure it's a lovely town. It sounds like he's drowning when he says the name of that city, though. It just does, okay? It just does. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's a beautiful place. But that's hilarious, okay? That's hilarious. It just is. How do they abbreviate that? I wouldn't even know where to begin. It's like casting a spell. That's honestly, that's what, if like the Ministry of Magic were actually concerned with preventing the use of these like unforgivable curses, just do some magic working to rename it so people have to say this instead of like, you know, Avada Kedavra! Instead of Avada Kedavra, you have to say
parts of eastern England with cloudy skies, but in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from.
So just like imagine Voldemort holds up the wand. Harry Potter, come to die.
Llanfair Pwllgwyn, Gallgo Gerech Windrobol, Llantysilio Gogogoch.
I think you'd have a lot less use of that, honestly. I think you'd see reduced deaths from unforgivable curses and things. I think that would work. Dude, I've been there. It's actually a really nice little town. I'm sure it is. I mean, it's on the coast. It's got to be beautiful weather over there. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure. What does spell check give as a suggestion for that? It probably knows that. Can I use like, I'm not going to type all that out, but maybe I can do like the Google Lens. Yeah, that city name. Let's see. It's also known as Llanfair Pwllgwyngyl, also shortened to Llanfairwell, and sometimes even as Llanfair PG. So they also call it just Llanfair. There you go. The more you know. The more you know. Wow. Okay. Real quick, does anybody out there use Starlink? Do any of you guys use Starlink? I need to know. Any of you? Yes, yes. Can you tell me what is it like with like gaming and or possibly streaming? My internet service provider has been dropping service like a few times a week, and now they're saying that they need me to pay $300 a month. And I am sick and tired of it, but I like there literally is not another option, which is why they can get away with it. It's for a gig. It's for a gig down like 400 up. Not 400, 40 up. But it's like I pay 300 a month or go with Starlink and save some money. Is really high ping. How high is really high? It's extortion. It's literally just American internet. Like there is one internet service provider in my area that can provide anything over like 1 megabit per second. The only other provider in my area provides 1 megabit per second. So you have to use this one company, and this one company has horrible pricing, horrible stability. It goes down constantly. And now they're trying to raise the prices, but like I don't have a choice. It's either I go with Starlink or I pay the price like this. It's insane. $90 for 2 gigs. Yeah, because I'm sure you've got fiber all set up, but where I'm at, I don't like there isn't any of that. I don't know, man. Speed maps. So this is what it says for latency. They're saying like 25 mega, not maybe not 25, like 30 to, yeah, 25 to 30 in Colorado. Upload speeds. Like if they can actually achieve this, this would be like downloads would be worse. But if they can actually achieve these speeds, this would be way better than and way cheaper than what I've got now. You know? Does it drop out during bad weather? I don't really know. Problem is it can be inconsistent. Yeah, I've heard that too. I just, at this point, I'm like, they literally are like, it's just extortion. It's like, what are you going to do? You going to move? You going to move? You going to move your house to save like $200 a month on internet? Oh, you need the internet for your job? Oh, geez, we're sorry. That's too bad. Looks like the price just went up. Oh, like it's crazy, dude. Begins to rub nipples. Exactly. So he has it and he loves it. We're sorry. Steal the neighbor's internet. I think they'd notice pretty quickly. Yeah. Well, it's, to be clear, like near me, like a city over, they have fiber. Comcast went in, upgraded a bunch of fiber stuff, and it's great. My buddy has like 2 gig down, gig up. It's amazing. It's ridiculous. And he pays like $45 a month or something. But in my city, they don't have that. So they're raising prices and the service is terrible and the speed is terrible. And it's just, can't you call your politician, raise awareness? Yeah. The problem is I can do that, but even if the politician does something about it and gets a bill passed next election cycle, it will then take another 4 or 5 years for them to upgrade service here. Like by that point I'm gone. So hello? Yeah. Wifey is here. Hello. Hello. Your kids got haircuts. Oh, they did? Is it good? Oh no, he's like a buzz cut.
It's way shorter than I wanted. He's still here, handsome little guy.
Okay. I'm sure it's very nice. What's her Dragon Age take? Yeah, what do you have an addendum to your Dragon Age take?
Toxically positive.
You are toxically positive, or the game is?
I am, but I think the game is a little bit just in the language and in the writing. It's toxically positive. I think you found the TikTok last night that kind of encapsulated it perfectly.
It was a video of a girl who's like showing what it feels like to play Rook in Dragon Age, and it shows the one guy who's like, my whole family is dead. Treviso's destroyed. All my friends and family are gone. Cuts back to Rook.
Yeah.
Well, at least we have each other.
We did what we could. We're your new family now.
No, you don't understand. Everyone I've ever known and loved is gone. They're dead in the streets. We're your new family now.
But we love you.
We'll figure it out.
And it does feel like in those instances, the characters do, like, sometimes they don't, but it feels like they immediately get over it. They're like, yeah, you're right. You are my family now. Who cares about the people I spent the rest of my life with? It's fine.
Yeah, and there's a constant smirk, too. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like, Rook is always... like, the dragon's coming, about to kill everybody. It's a dragon.
I feel like that's highly
Wow.
realistic, though. As somebody that suffers with RBF, resting bitch face, I feel like I'm constantly doing that anyways, too. So,
But it's also in tone. Like, there's also a lot of sarcasm where big dragon comes in, kills lots of people. We have to fight that thing? Oh, geez, this is gonna go well. It's like, shut up. Shut up. It's a dragon.
okay,
it's killing
no,
people.
you're getting too
Not the
negative
time.
for me, honestly, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I just find those pieces a little funny. Even like through all that, I'm finding it very, very fun.
Mm-hmm.
The callbacks to the previous games. I didn't expect so many from Dragon Age 2, which is really fun to see because I'm like, Dragon Age 2, not a very good game, but the characters.
There
and
was a
there.
point last night where I came upstairs and I heard you yelling at the screen saying, "This isn't fun. This isn't fun." What was that?
To what was best explained is the end of. You said it was like the end of Act 1. I'm not totally sure.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
What is it?
You just
Weishaupt.
You go to Weishaupt.
Yeah.
Luke said that this was like near the end of Act 1, and it's every time you have a boss fight, you're like, wow, that was the boss fight. You're like, that was pretty hard. And you spend like 15 minutes on it. And then I got to the boss fight, but it wasn't the boss fight. And then I got to the next boss fight, but it wasn't the boss fight. And then I finally got to the boss fight, and it just didn't stop.
It never ends. Yeah.
And so I didn't die. You watched the whole thing. I didn't die once, but darn it, it was
took like
endless.
half an hour.
It did. It was like an hour and a half of nonstop button mashing. So
Yeah, it's. I can see why some people really, really like it. I can also like see why a lot of people burnt out, because I got through like Act 1, so at the preview event we went to, we got through like the end of that sequence at Weishaupt, and of course a lot of the stuff in between that, side quests and stuff, were cut out, so we pretty much only experienced main story stuff until that point. But I'm in the part where all of it's new to me. I haven't seen any of it before, and I feel like it slows to a crawl a lot. But I think both people are right. Like, I can see why some people eat it up and absolutely love it. I can also see why a lot of people also got super burnt out and just get to that boss fight and like, I am not having that much fun. Like, I'm bashing my head against the wall.
what I really appreciate is for the people that are playing it to play the games in succession and to go from game to game to game. I was really worried it wouldn't respect the foundation that it had, and it has for the most part. I mean, I'm like 12 hours in. It's respected the foundation that they've set of lore. They've gone back and they've pulled things from previous games, and they're like, look, this meant nothing in these last few games, and it's back, and it's interesting, and you're learning more things. And I don't know, I'm fully invested story wise. So
yeah, it's, for me, the other big thing that some people were mentioning, Logan says, people don't realize or appreciate how much good writing, especially dialogue, can carry a game. 2014's Deadpool game is mediocre gameplay wise, but the writing and dialogue carry the game. I do think that writing can really make a big difference. For me, the writing in Dragon Age is often grating. Like, once you see how the characters struggle to take anything seriously, other than really random, bizarre things that frankly are not that important in the moment. Like, there's dragons coming and killing people, and then they're like, I was upset when you said this to me. It's like, okay, babe, not the time.
We get to like this end of Act 1 stuff, and you have a conversation with the team, and they're like, we can't keep going. There's this thing that's threatening the whole world, but we can't keep going because we have unresolved feelings. And that, for me, I'm like, You just said that the world's ending.
An entire
Keep
city.
going.
Yeah.
Because you have unresolved feelings, therefore you can't focus.
An entire city is destroyed and like thousands of people are killed. And they're like, okay, let's sit around. And then what you are asked to do is to go catch up with your companions and talk about their feelings and like help them come to grips with it. And it's like, maybe this is just toxic masculinity on my part, but I feel like if I'm trying to role play seriously and there's like an existential threat, there are elven gods invading the land, spawning dragons, killing thousands, destroying entire cities. F your feelings. We have to deal with this. Like, if you're actually trying to role play, you should be snapping at the companions for like trying to ramble about that stuff. But you can't do that. Like, you have to turn that part of your brain off, you know, and it's too bad. That is mandatory. The companion stuff where you build your relationships with them. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even if you're able to bypass it and like skip out on a lot of companion quests, like in most RPGs, if you, like the leveling of them is often tied to those quest lines. So like, you know, Baldur's Gate, you can play through Baldur's Gate, have Karlach in your party, and the more you play with her, she'll level up, and then, you know, she becomes more powerful and you can get new abilities and things, so she can help you as you get later in the game, whether you're engaging with her specific storyline or not. With this game, though, you do have to engage with the characters much more directly and personally in order to unlock certain abilities or certainly gear that makes them useful later in the game. So you kind of do have to engage with them on it. And the frustrating bit is that, again, if you are taking it seriously, it's like it doesn't want you to take it seriously. It's like Fallout 4, where you're like, my son has been kidnapped and my wife murdered. So I'm going to go and I'm going to build a nice little fort, and I'm going to put my bed over here and craft a couch and put it there. And then I'm going to hang some Christmas lights. You know, it's like you have to turn the part of your brain that's trying to roleplay off to enjoy the game. And that's okay. Like, not every game needs to be an RPG. My problem is just when games try to be RPGs when they're not RPGs. And this game really feels like parts of it wants to be an RPG, but then other parts it doesn't want to follow through and actually deliver on that. You know, there's cool consequence. There's moments where you can do certain things that are really, really crazy, and there is a consequence, and, you know, lots of people can die or things can happen as a result of it. But to me, it doesn't really feel like a role-playing game, because you can't really choose a role and play it. You can't be an evil guy and play the evil guy. You can't choose to be calculated but fair. You can't choose to be endlessly optimistic, even if that means you lead your party members into trouble. There's nothing like that, like in a Baldur's Gate or something like that, where you can really pick how you want to play and then pursue that role. In this game, you're playing as Rook, and you are expected to basically be best friends with all the companions while fighting like some big monsters and dragons. That's basically what it is. It's more of a friendship simulator than it is a role-playing game. And I can see a certain demographic of people that could really, really like it for being that. But I think there's a lot of people who also were really hoping that they were going to get like an intense RPG and didn't get that. So like metaphor in a certain way. Yeah, there's sort of a lesser focus on individualistic role play. It's more you're going through the motions of the story. The difference, I would argue, between this and Metaphor is that Metaphor's writing across the board is far more compelling, and it seems much more situationally aware. No matter where you are or what you're doing in the game, there's references to the broader storyline. There's references to this or to that. Like, I won't spoil anything, but there was one moment in Dragon Age so far that I hit where something massive happened. And it should be like, this changes everybody. You know, everybody should be changing how they think about stuff after this. But I got back to base. And I had a sequence of dialogue that I had to listen to because it was between me and a quest objective for the main story. So I had to go through it. In the middle of this all is lost, like very serious moment, I have to listen to like a long sequence of dialogue about somebody being upset over certain clothes and their mother's expectations of them and stuff like that. And again, like, I can understand it. I can understand why that might make sense for that character. But in the context of the game and the story, it felt totally out of place. It was like, even if you were like the most hardcore understanding person possible, the most accepting, welcoming person, which I'd like to think I'm very welcoming and understanding with a lot of stuff. But in that situation, I was like, this is not the time to have these conversations, whether we are, feeling frustrated by it or not. Like, in the context of the situation of what's happening, this is a serious moment, and it's not the time to talk about our feelings whatsoever. It's not the time to talk about our frustrations with our family. It's not the time to talk about drama between friends. Like, we have bigger fish to fry. Let's deal with that. And then when we hit a lull, we can talk about our personal struggles and stuff. But right now, this is bigger than any one of us. And it feels like they've kind of lost perspective on that. JV said a lot of the game's writing feels like therapy language, where it feels like a lot of each of the companions is like super self-indulgent with how much time they take of yours. So it's very much like, you're going to listen to me complain about my feelings and my situation in life, and basically play like mini therapist to me. And I just don't find that particularly fun, you know? It sounds egocentric, patronizing, and unnecessary. I do think there's a lot of it that starts to get into the patronizing realm. And then there's also a lot of it that, for me, it just feels so out of place, because you'll have these sequences where, like, you can tell it's somebody that thinks, well, this is my story. Like, this is how I feel about the situation. So everybody needs to stop everything and then listen to me talk about it. I'm like, I want to help you through this. I want to help you talk about it. I want to be here for you. But thousands of people are dying right now. We have bigger things to do. Like, I would tell this to my wife. I would tell this to my best friends. Like, if there were a situation where I could potentially save thousands of people from dying, if you came to me and you're like, I'm feeling really like a lot of anxiety right now, I'd be like, got it, love you, support you. I got bigger stuff to deal with right now. And I think that that's fair to feel that way. If you're trying to role play it seriously. But it's why ultimately I have a problem with the writing in Dragon Age, is because in order to have fun with it, you have to turn off your brain from role playing and taking the story super seriously. And that just, it's the same problem Fallout 4 had. And it's a problem here too, where it's like, a role-playing game should never get you to a spot where you have to ignore the story to have fun with it. That's not a role-playing game anymore. That's something else. I don't know what it is, but that's something else. So, anyway. so much self-importance they couldn't help themselves. All they had to do was write a game without self-inserting their own crap. Was a for well, to be clear, like there are people that gave this 10 out of 10. It's their game of the year. There are people that devoured it, that love this kind of thing, and that's okay. I just don't think this is a role-playing game. Like I said, I think it's like a friendship simulator action game. And if you want to play it, you just need to go into it understanding that like you're not going to be doing a lot of intense role play or introspection as a character. You're going to be going through and basically playing group therapist to a group of kind of emotionally dysfunctional characters. And some people eat that up. Some people love it, obviously. But for me, it's just not particularly compelling. So as of right now, I'm like, eh. Don't tell Nikki I said this. But last night I was playing Dragon Age. I hit like one of those brain dead sequences where I was like, okay, like the super serious moment, and then they like a separate character other than the one I was just talking about starts rambling about their feelings, and I was like, okay, not the time, and the dialogue just keeps going. There's no option to be like, suck it up, you know, there's nothing like that. So I turned off the game. You know what I booted up? Baldur's Gate. Loaded up a late game save of Baldur's Gate, went through, chose the ending where I let Gale blow himself up. Played through the ending sequence of that with the beautiful dialogue, the bit where Karlach, I guess no spoilers, but Karlach's story ends on the dock, you know. And I was like, this. I like this. You know, this is what I wanted. So, but it's an example of how when like the standards change when a game like Baldur's Gate comes, it changes your perspective on what's possible. And yeah, I had to cleanse the palate. Literally, I mean, the Gale kill streak ending. Yeah, basically. I just, it was a good reset. And for me, it was enough to like, okay, yes. So I'm not crazy. There are games that can do this really, really well. And, you know, I think Dragon Age will probably be financially successful at some point. I don't think it's broken even yet, but I think it eventually will. And I think that's good. Like I said, it's not a bad game. I've had a good time with it. I'm not sure at this point if I'll finish 60 hours of it, but I'm having a good time with it nonetheless. It might just be one of those games I put 10 hours into every few weeks until I finish it a month or two from now. But I don't hate it. It's not a bad game. I think the writing borders on bad, but it's an action friendship simulator. I don't think it's a role-playing game. And the deeper in I get, the more I'm like, there's cool consequence to some big decisions, but like moment-to-moment gameplay on an individual level, you're not role-playing. You know, it's different. Logan, Dragon Age is a bad game, 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 10 by itself, but with the context and history of the series, it's a cataclysmic failure. The writing talent has left BioWare. I do think a lot of the writing talent left based on my understanding of people who moved to other studios and stuff. So I do think a lot of that did happen. But again, as a game, it's kind of like AC Odyssey, but not quite as good. Like AC Odyssey, Freudian slip. AC Odyssey is a really solid adventure role-playing game. As like an Assassin's Creed game, it's really bad as an Assassin's Creed game. But if you meet it where it's at, if you try to play it the way the developers intended you to and like designed it, you can have a really good time. And same thing I think with Dragon Age. If you play it just as imagine it's just a generic fantasy action game called Veilguard. Remove Dragon Age. You can have a good time with it. There's some cool tie-ins, like Nikki said, that tie into Dragon Age 2 and stuff like that. I personally disagree that it's downright bad. I think where it starts is probably at like 6 to 7 out of 10 for me right now. But whereas Odyssey, like I still think Odyssey is great. I really like Odyssey. If I could be playing Odyssey right now instead of Veilguard, I probably would easily take that. People forget Odyssey had some really good quest lines. You remember the whole one with Supidio? I made like a video that went viral on it. The whole story. It's just Oedipus spelled backwards. But that quest line is freaking hilarious. Like, it's freaking hilarious. There's so many good ones. Or like the one quest line where like you have to help the old lady collect a bunch of flowers and stuff for her to make basically an ancient Greek version of Viagra for her like boyfriend. Like, there are a lot of crazy quests in that game. You think it's better than the average? You think, oh, we're back to this. You have to, it depends on how you grade it. I'm grading on the American standard scale where like a C or a 7 out of 10 is considered average. So not 5. Like in the American grading system, like a 5 is a failing grade. I think as a game, it's not failing. I just personally don't think it's particularly good. So for me, it's in the realm of like 6 to 7, which is from bad to average. And the deeper I get into it, the more it's starting to slip for me, especially as like the stories get more fleshed out and stuff. But at this point, I'm like, ugh. Why are we redefining a 10-point scoring system? I mean, I didn't invent the way Americans use it. I'm sorry. I didn't. That's why maybe we just need to describe it. That's why the numbering system, people hear like, oh, you gave it a 7 or a 6, so you think it's really good? I'm like, no. Like where I live, that's not good. But that's why I just use the words. The ASS scale, the American school system scale. There you go. The ASS scale. That's good. Do you intend to finish it? Many people are saying the ending's good. I've heard the ending's really good too. I like I said, I don't know if I'll get there quick. I have a feeling this might be a game I pop into, throw a few hours into it here and there.
Hey Luke, love the content. I loved AC Odyssey. It was the first AC game I played. So I wasn't upset that it was a bad AC game cause I didn't know anything about the AC lore.
Yeah, and that's great. But that's why I think it's important to remove yourself from your individual bubble. Like, and I try to clarify for people, you know, like Odyssey, I think is a really good game. If you're looking for an AC game, you'll be sorely disappointed. But if you're looking for like a big epic adventure game, it's really good. And I've been saying that since it came out, but now it's kind of gotten a renaissance. Now it's more popular to say that quiet part out loud. But I think eventually I will finish Veilguard. I just don't know how quickly. Like, I'm already burning out on the combat, which if I fully burn out, if I get to the point where I'm like, I'm good, then I think I would give it like a bad rating. I'm like, it was so bad I couldn't finish it. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting close. I'm starting to be like, okay, some of these combat sequences are getting like really dry. Really dry. Would you be willing to try out another NFT game? I don't know. I've heard people mention Off the Grid. I don't know. I'd rather just try a good game. I feel like if you have to describe your game as an NFT game, it might not be good enough to stand on its own, you know? Just say no. Well, like if they're going to reveal that it's like actually The Witcher 4, then I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to try that. But I feel like if you have to attach NFT to a game's like title or description, it's not remarkable enough to stand on its own. You have to put a buzzword next to it. And that to me is just not that compelling. DivX Laszlo, thank you for that. Check Steam achievements for Veilguard. Only 2.1% got the one for the finish or for finishing the game so far. Is it good or bad? I would have to check other games. It's a long game, so like everybody I know that bought it at launch have not, like, none of them have finished it. They're just chugging through. So I'd have to see, like, at this point how many people had finished Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know if it would be in that same like 2% range. I imagine Baldur's Gate was probably higher, but I honestly don't know. But that is interesting. But anecdotally, which is all I can, speak to at this point, I haven't seen that data. Anecdotally, everybody I know that bought the game has not finished it yet. They're chugging through it, but it's a long game. Joel Miller, he's back, guys. He's back from his golf trip. Thank you for the super chat. I started The Witcher 3 for the first time, but it's really overwhelming, and even on easy, I die all the time. Interesting. I think look up a couple starter guides, and don't be afraid to use Quen. Quen is pretty overpowered early in the game, especially. So I recommend check that out. That can help a lot. Logan, oh yeah, we read that one. Banana Blitz, thank you for the 5. Yeah, bro, the drunk crashes are the problem too, not the drunk drivers. Oh yeah, from that video we were watching. Adults shouldn't be forced to wear a seatbelt, says Logan. Logan, wow. My freedom. Logan, also with the 5, thank you for that. Monster Hunter Wilds beta was insane. I've never played a Monster Hunter game before, but it was blown away. Yeah, if you could run it, it was awesome. It was awesome. I have a friend who has an older PC, and he sent me some pictures of his performance, and it was rough. But apparently it's way better now already, so hopefully at launch it's fixed. Caleb, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Michigan lefts are amazing and save lives. It prevents from turning across 2 different directions of traffic and reduces T-bones. Yeah. They definitely are safer. It's just crazy. You cross the state border, and then all of a sudden all of the road rules are changed. It's crazy. Zod, thank you for that 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Perry, thank you for the 10. That seems like the common Ubisoft move. Make a mediocre game, fix it later. Oh yeah, I read this one with Ghost Recon, Division 1, Star Wars. When will they learn? They claim they just did, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I never understood how to kill anything in the Monster Hunter games. Everything seemed to have unlimited health. Each of the monsters have big health pools, and it's all about breaking. I mean, each mission might be like 40, 50 minutes long, and it should take you about that long to finish it. Maybe 20, 30 minutes for like big boss fights, but it should take you a long time to kill a monster. There are some... Yeah, like this gives you a good idea. So all of these, like these are the health scores. To obtain the solo HP value, another method is used. The HP difference from low rank to high rank is around 3x values with a roughly or not, or with the tilde or not 100% accurate. Need more testing. So you can see like just the Great Jagras. The starter version you play in the early game, like the first mission of Monster Hunter World, is 1400 HP. High rank later in the game, once you've upgraded your gear, it's like 3800, and then the master rank value is at 12,000. So it gets exponentially higher as time goes by. A lot of these are only specific to like the late game. The Gold Rathian 21,000, Young Garuga, lots of big guys, but like they are supposed to be very difficult. They're supposed to take a lot of punishment to break. So I see some people have done like, some people have added mods where they add the health bar to the monster. I don't like that personally. I think part of it is like learning how to read the monster's behavior, because you'll get to the point where like it'll be at a certain health level, it'll break, and then you can identify, oh, it's moving this way, or oh, it started doing this move that it didn't have before, or oh, it moved over to this part of the map, and those can tell you things about the monster's behavior. But that just takes time to learn and experience to learn. Yeah, they'll sound different. There's all sorts of stuff. So I think if you're looking for it to just be like quick get in / it's dead, yeah, it's not the game for you. It's not. It is Monster Hunter, not Monster Killer, you know? And I think that's for a reason. They play very differently. Yeah, prep is key. Learning about the monster is part of the game. Exactly. Once you know how to take down a certain monster, once you understand it, you can like clean house pretty quick. Like you can start to speed run some monsters, but it takes some time. Mommy Hunter. No, that's Wilds. That's Wilds. Milk Hunter. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. You've had your fun. Uppy Hunter. Jesus. Oh man. You had to. I know. We do a little trolling. Okay. Everybody. We're going to call this stream here. We're going to be back with Mr. Joraptor here in just a few minutes to talk about his PS5 Pro, which he allegedly has in his possession. So, buckle up. It's going to be a good one, okay? We'll be back in about 20 minutes for the podcast, okay? I love you all dearly. Thank you again, Figaro, for the sub. Thank you, Piotr, for the sub just now. 5 months. Ooh, baby. Thank you for that. You guys are fantastic. I love you all dearly. We'll be back with the podcast soon. I'll see you then. Much love. Bye-bye.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed. Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow. A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay. And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread. No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch. This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ah, keep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ah, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta beep-a-da boop. Skim, milk, the rat fleet, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. break, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.